Good evening, everybody. Hello there. Welcome to Making It Monday. Welcome to the Lizzy Curtis page. Let's hope I'm actually there. Now I can see I'm there. It's fine. I thought I'd change things up a little bit tonight. So we had the actual picture of the project to start off the evening. And if you're watching this back on Rewind, you'll see that lovely picture before you start, which is handy because then at least you know what you're making tonight. So we're going to be making Gertie. Oh, I love that name. That is the best name ever. Thank you so much for joining me. It's an absolute treat, as normal, to have you here with me. Let me just get my wires out the way. I was just going to pull my microphone off. Yes, so thank you very much for joining me, and I'll just have a quick say hello to everybody. We've got a few people already watching, so we've got Jane and Rosemary, Cheryl, Lynn, Jeanette, and we've got I've just said Rosemary, Elaine and Sally. Loads and loads of people. I'm getting double comments, so that's even more crazy than normal. one is enough. Yes, Debbie, it is warm tonight. I've got my windows open, so if you hear kids playing, the ice cream man, planes flying over, you know that it's because I've got my windows open. So also, of course, we might get the birds tweeting as well, so that's okay though. We don't mind that, do we? Isn't it lovely that we can have the windows open and the sun streaming in? And yeah, we mustn't moan, although yeah, it is a hot one. Although I have to say, I don't sit out in the sunshine very much. I might sit out for maybe half an hour, especially if John's in the garden doing jobs. I might sit out there just for a little while. But I'm not a great sun worshipper. I used to be when I was younger, and I expect lots of us were, weren't we? And then, of course, we got frightened, I think, by the dangers, I think, of sitting in the sunshine too much. So, and I'm usually quite busy anyway, so that's okay. But probably after I've done this evening, it'll be about 8 o'clock, won't it? So I might pop out into the garden and sit and cool down a little bit. So I've got all my lights blazing. It makes this little area boiling hot, but I'm not complaining. Carol says she's going to watch tomorrow. She's not been home from work long. Oh, Carol, I hope you didn't have too much of a stressful day. It can be really hard, can't it, now that we're all getting back to sort of a more normal way of life. I think for some of us, it comes quite kind of hard because we've had, that sort of downtime, if you like. It's not only was it lockdown, but it's also a bit of downtime. It's a funny old time, wasn't it, really? But hopefully we're coming out of it, although I did see the numbers going up tonight, so we'll wait and see. So let's have a look, see who else. We've got Linda here. Linda says, good morning, Lizzie, and the MIM group. So Linda must be from the US. Welcome, Linda. We've got Jan. Hi, Lizzie. We've got Cindy as well. Evening, Lizzie and everyone. And Teresa as well. Hi, everyone. So it's lovely. So we've got lots of people watching. We've got nearly 200 people watching, so I really should get going because it's not about me. It's about Gertie. And Gertie is the pattern that you will have got from lunchtime today. And I think when I last looked, we were up to about 500 downloads. We get to about 1,000 and then it slows down a little bit. So well done you for taking advantage of the pattern. Yeah, it's certainly a great pleasure for me to do it for you, and it's good fun. Kath and I go through this with a fine-tooth comb to make sure that it reads okay and it looks okay, and hopefully you can follow it okay. So there's a couple of things I just want to say before. There was still somebody querying about the place on the fold lines. So if that's you, or if you're not sure what place on fold means when you see a pattern with arrows and lines, look back at last week's Making It Monday video, which is now on YouTube. It's not on this page anymore. I had to delete it because it was interfering with tomorrow's live event with Adrienne. That's another story which I'll talk to you about in a little while. So I had to delete it, but it's on YouTube, and I go through what the place on fold and arrows mean. I suppose it's more dressmaking-y thing, maybe, but I think it's a pretty universal sort of direction now, if you like. So we'll see. Hopefully we can all follow it. Lynn, you're not late. You don't get a black mark. You can join in anytime. I haven't said anything yet, other than show you the pattern to say well done if you've downloaded it. Maybe you can follow along. Now this is going to take a little bit of a while to actually put together because it's made from scraps. Now that brings me to my first point. Let me just pop that over there. This doesn't have to be made from scraps. This is a different one. This does not have to be made from scraps, okay? You've got the dimensions of how long and how wide it needs to be. So choose your lovely fabric that you may have in your stash already. What is it, 18 inches by 4.5? So it could be, I wouldn't go for anything thick. I would still stick with your cottons, polycottons, that type of thing. I wouldn't go for a cotton canvas because I've got to turn it through and do a little bit of top stitching and what have you. But you could make this in the lining one whole piece and the outer one whole piece. Because obviously if you're a new stitcher, you may not have a heap of bits and bobs that you can use. And I totally get that. So the great thing is that it is sort of kind of up to you now whether you make it from, sorry about the hair, it keeps flipping in my face, I'm going to ignore it. Whether you make it from scraps or whether you make it from two big pieces. Now if you're, I'm going to say this, I'm going to try and whiz through the piecing together only because it takes a little while and it could be really boring for you, but I'm determined to do it because I need you to see it from start to finish. So if you want to kind of skip ahead and create one in one piece of fabric for the outer, one piece for the lining, still use your wadding or your batting, then great. And then at the end of the video you can post a picture, or I don't know if you can post it while we're live, I'm not sure actually, you can always try. So that's an option, and I thought it was important to tell you that. The other thing is, which is the other one, there's the other one, it takes quite big sunglasses. These aren't matte, let me put them on, or I'll put them up to my eyes, there we go. So they're quite big. I call them a bit of Joan Collins glasses, so that you can see they fit quite well in there. But the other thing is, where's my phone? Here it is that my iPhone, now I'm not sorry, I'll turn it that way, it's my dad's club card. The other thing is that it will fit my phone, look, it will fit my phone. So if you want a phone case, which actually, if this phone is always in your handbag and could get scratched with your car keys, it's not a bad idea to make two, one for your glasses, especially if you've got a pair of Joan Collins glasses. I don't mean that they're branded Joan Collins or that they belong to Joan Collins, more that they look like the sort of glasses Joan Collins would wear. I think I got that one nicely. But then you could always put your big phone in there, whether it's an iPhone like mine or whether it's a Samsung or whatever. I don't even know the other brands, but it does fit really nicely. You can see it fits beautifully, and of course the flap sits underneath the tab. I have to do this putting down. Fits under the tab really well. Let me try and get that. That's it. More haste, less speed. So you can see it's very secure. So not only will that sit nicely in your bag, but the phone or the glasses won't just slide out. There's no point of that whatsoever, would there? And of course with mine, and you'll notice on the pictures, I've got like little pieces of button bands. On the back, I've got a buttonhole piece. I know perhaps not too clear for you to see from that distance. I've got pieces of lace on here. There's lace going across here. There's lace going across here. Now you don't have to do any of that. You don't, if that's not your thing, you don't have to do any of that. What I'm trying to get you to do is a little bit of crumb quilting. It could be referred to as crazy patchwork, really, but I like to call it crumb quilting because we're using crumbs of fabric. That's what how I see it in my head. There's different ways of doing it. There's different techniques, and if you look up our favourite quilters on YouTube, look at Jenny Doan for instance, she does it with strips. Okay, she does it with strips, and she always recommends, and I kind of agree with her a bit on this, is that if you do this before you start stitching, before you even get to your machine for your regular stitching, whatever you're going to do a little bit of crumb quilting, because it's a good practice Plus you're making another piece of fabric from your scraps, because obviously these are pretty much next to useless. But I mean, there are some 2.5-inch strips in here, I think, but they're all just scraps. And you know, you might have an end of a jelly roll or a design roll that you have no idea what to do with. Just cut it up. I mean, literally, just get your scissors. Let me find a 2.5-inch strip. There we go. That, I think that's probably a 2.5-inch strip. And just cut into it like this. Don't be afraid. You need bigger scissors, really. Don't be afraid just to chop it up. There we go. Into smaller pieces. Okay? Don't think you have to use... Oh, let's find another bit. Yeah, don't... They're not... I haven't got any more 2.5-inch strips. But you don't have to use a piece this big. You can... Of course, but you can cut into it as well. So as we go along, you'll see how I manipulate my fabric to suit me. And in here as well, I've got pieces that I've already stitched for other projects. Can you see it's a little piece of patchwork? I've no idea what that was for. No idea. I've got cut-offs from the ones that I made earlier this week. Do you see? This is all cut-offs. If you look at the pattern, you'll see that I had to make my piece, then cut it. Well, actually, I can use all of that on the piece I'm going to make now. So, you know, all of these pieces are useful. So, the thing about it is that you can really choose... Oh, I better take my phone out of there before I forget. Nobody needs me. Hurrah. So I've got... This one is like sort of bluey tones. Can you see? Really nice. It's got the button bands on it again. It's also got some hessian on there that I've frayed as well. So it's very versatile. You can put all sorts of bits and bobs on there. And you can sew... Although this is a part of a button band of a man's shirt... or it could be a lady's shirt, you could actually just find some little treasured buttons in your stash and stitch them on. And stitch them on before you make it up. You know, make your piece of fabric, put your backing or your wadding on, and then stitch the buttons on. You just got to be aware of where all the turns are going to go. So, so there we are. So we're going to piece this together. Okay, now you'll notice if you're looking at the pattern again, where is the pattern? I've had it somewhere, here we go. You'll notice as well on the pattern, this picture here, which I just talked to you about, this top one, you can see that it's really, I have kind of measured it. It's much longer than I needed, hence the waist, and also quite a bit wider than I needed. So, but as long as you cover that 4.5 by 18-inch measurement, and by all means, you know, stitch on some paper, stitch on some filing, tear that away, tear it all away. You don't need any extra bulk, but by all means use that as your guide and you won't go over the edge. But I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to kind of go for it. So you'll see, like I say, from that picture, you know, there's great big pieces of fabric in here, but by the time we cut it down, they become scraps in themselves, and that's how we get sort of these pieces, which, as I said, we can use again. So it can be very exciting. So, there we are. So I'm going to put my notes there because I want to talk to you about something, but I want to get going, really. Oh, thank you, saying that's a lovely pattern. That's lovely. Catherine says she has a bag of bits that she doesn't want to throw away. No, and this is ideal, Catherine, because you can use all of these bits and bobs. And if you looked at my YouTube the other day, I did a deconstruction video of a man's shirt. And I collected lots of buttonholes and the button band and snipped them all up, and I would use all of those in my creative work, and this is definitely my creative work. So the main thing is, I'm not going to do this now because we haven't got a lot of time. I want to keep to the hour, is to iron all your pieces. Please make sure they're lovely and ironed. And I will get so far, and I'm looking for my little ironing mat. I shall get so far, and then I'll probably give mine an iron. Goodness knows what I've done with the mat. It's here somewhere. Oh, I put it on the floor. That's right. When I say it was on the floor, it's on some paper that's nice and clean. It's clean. Right, let's put that somewhere. And I'll just switch my iron on low. I'm not going to have it sat there really hot. That would be terrible. So I'm using my Juki. You don't need a fancy machine for this, that's for sure. You can see it beautifully there, but I have got the side view, which we'll go to. So really it's just a case of starting. And where do you start? Well, that's a good question. I could start with something that's already been pre-made. So I can snip into this already. And use that as my starting point. So I know that's more than 4.5 inches. Quick measurement, yeah. So that's my kind of starting point, and then I can start adding bits to that. So I think what I'll do is I'll go to the side camera, which it will be a little bit boring, so I'm going to kind of go from front to side because it's very repetitious, but it will give you an idea of how to construct it. Now the main thing about all of this is that your seam allowance should be 1/8 of, well, go for 1/4 of an inch if you want, but I would prefer if you did it 1/8 of an inch, because by the time you put all these scraps together, there's a lot of seams going on and there's a lot of double layers going on, yeah? So stick, if you can, to about 1/8 of an inch, which is obviously half of what we normally do. If that's too much for you to do, or even to remember, stick to your 1/4 of an inch, because we're kind of used to that, aren't we? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just transfer you to the side camera, and we'll just get the other one ready to go. You can still see me at the front. There we go, waving away. And so I started with my little sort of scrappy piece here, and I'm just going to build on that. And do you see I've got a really straight line going across there? Well, that doesn't please me at all. So the first piece I'm going to do is I'm going to put it diagonally across, which means I'm going to trim some away, but I'm okay about that. So I'm going to put it like that, and I'm going to stitch from this finger here to where my thumb is, and then we'll trim that away. And like I say, try and aim for 1/4 of an inch. Oh, let's just get the bobbin thing sorted. There we go. Yeah, because you don't need, it doesn't need to be strong. It just needs to be stitched, basically. So we'll just snip that away. Now a lot of these I would say to you, don't snip until you're ready to, okay? And you know, when you've turned it, make sure that all of that is lying in the right direction. So now that pleases me a little bit more, so I'm going to just cut that away and trim it, and you'll find as you do this you'll get better and better at it, okay? And again, look, we've got a repeat pattern here, and we've still got a bit of a straight line, even though I tried to make it diagonal, but I think by the time we've cut it we'll be okay. So I'm going to put a piece across here just to cut right across that corner piece there. So let's find a little scrappy bit. Here we go. It's nice. Oh, that's a bit too familiar, too similar, I mean. Oh, this is nice. This roses. This is all Liberty fabrics. I don't expect you to all have Liberty fabrics. So now I'm just got my right side showing, and I'm just going to lay this across here, and you'll think for a while it's very random. Yes, it is very random, but like I said, stitch something on like that, cut this piece away, okay, and then you can see we can trim this back, and then we've got a funny little bit going on there. Do you see how that looks? But I'm going to snip that away. Let's think, like that, okay? And then I'm going to build a layer right across here, okay? So if I get another piece, oh, I love this fabric. Oh, it's so lovely. So I'm going to put right sides down, and I'm just going to lay that next piece right across from the outside edge right across to the other side as well. And I'm just going to make sure that I've got fabric underneath. So let's get that lined up, and try and keep to your 1/8 of an inch. And these are, for me, these are quite big pieces. I'll be honest with you, they're quite big. Normally I go quite small, but I'm quite conscious that I don't want to sort of have you sat there for ages. Do you see how our straight bit is now sort of starting to look a little bit more wonky, which is exactly how I want it to be. Now I wouldn't mind filling in this sort of bit of area here. So when you look at it, this is actually, we've got a kind of triangle shape. Now you perhaps wouldn't think that was, but I perhaps want to straighten this up a little bit. I don't know. So I'm going to add a few of my scraps and see what that looks like. So let's just add those in here. There we go. And if you've got a seam on your fabric, you know, from where you've cut another piece, don't worry about that. Just ignore it. So I've stitched that little piece on there. It all looks the same, doesn't it? And you can see it's starting to take shape. And I've got this kind of gap at the top, so we need to fill that. So I'm just going to snip that away. So that's what it looks like now. And I'm going to put a piece across here, right across there. Do you see that tiny little scrappy bit there? I doubt whether we'll end up seeing that, but we'll see. So let's have a look. I've got this little scrappy bit. Oh, I've got these bits here as well. I've got lots of bits, as you can see. So I'm just going to lay this across here and see how I get on. And this is how it's going to be for you. And you're going to really, you will enjoy it. I think the first instance you'll be wondering, what the heck am I doing? I don't know what I'm doing. But you're just building up a piece of fabric. That's all you're doing. So look, I've stitched across there. Do you see? And then I'm just going to fold that back, and that creates the next little piece. But I'm going to keep it trim, keep all these bits trimmed, and I'm just going to keep building and building and building. And don't worry about these edges. Don't worry that they're a little bit wonky. We're not interested in that. Do you see that's quite narrow just there? Between there and there's quite narrow. So I'm actually going to fill that bit in now. So it's just a case of building it up. So I don't want that bit. I've got a whole bag of stuff beside me. Oh, look at this. Look at that. So I'm going to use that right across there. So don't forget, right sides together. Oh, that's a little bit small. Oh, what a shame. Let's pick this bit. Let's pick this bit. So right sides together. Hold on. There we go. Don't forget you're doing 1/8 of an inch if you can. If you can't, you mustn't worry. Stick to the 1/8 of an inch. It's fine. And even if you go wriggly on this, it doesn't matter, because all of these seams are going to not be shown. So we've got lots of little bits now. Let's just snip that away there. And so that's built up that corner. Do you see how we're getting on now? So it's just a case now of keeping going, but you want to try and do it so you're in a straight line. So this, if I move this away just for a moment. So we've got quite a long way to go yet. So this will be my end here, and then I'm going to bring it down here. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the front view just for a little while, because otherwise it can get a little bit tedious seeing the same thing. But we'll go back and forwards. But I'm going to just reach for. Sorry, Millie. Millie's my dog. She's just sat right there. I'm just going to get a few more of my scraps just in case I run out. Yeah, there we go. So we're just going to keep building it up and building it up and building it up. And it's just now a case of getting all those scrappy pieces in, and you'll have such fun. I would say don't be too precious. Don't be too precious. They were scraps. Maybe you would have thrown them away. You might not have done, but One thing I learnt when my mum passed away, she kept absolutely everything, and she didn't have time, even though she was nearly 90, she did not have time to use it all. Okay, she ran out of time, and that's okay, because that's nature, isn't it? So what I'm saying is, you've got to sometimes just brave it. Just brave it and use those little pieces of scraps, those gorgeous pieces of fabric that you love and you can't bear to throw away, and enjoy them. So all I'm doing is stitching and cutting, just building up my piece bit by bit, and in a little while I might do just iron it. The one thing you must do is to give it a super duper press right at the end. We want a really lovely press, because that makes a huge difference to how the finished pouch, glasses case looks, because you've got so much fabric going on. You want it to look really nice. So I've got a scrappy piece here that I'm just building up. It's got a selvage, and I will cut the selvage away. I'm not that precious about salvages. And you can see that I already had a piece patchwork, but I'm building up on that. And again, I'll put another piece on the other side. I don't need a huge piece. Now, I could have pre-made one, okay? I could have pre-made one. But that's not what Making It Mondays are all about. Making It Mondays are all about seeing something from start to finish, and seeing actually how long it could take if you pushed yourself. Sometimes we have to push ourselves. And then also, is it something that's going to be achievable for you? Is it something that you're going to pick up and be able to achieve? And if you watch me do it, you'll think, oh, anybody can do that then. So it's making it accessible to you, I suppose. It's making it achievable. That's what it's all about, and that's what pleases me. So hopefully you've downloaded the pattern. Right, let's talk about that. My lovely admin ladies, Jackie and Jackie, they have provided for us in the Making It Monday Facebook group a frequently asked questions file and an announcements. If you go into announcements, there's a file in announcements, and that kind of gives you an idea of what you need to do to get your Making It Monday patterns. Okay, they're not on Facebook. Well, Jackie and Jackie are, but the patterns are not kept on Facebook. Facebook is a separate, it's a means to an end. It allows people to post their pictures of what they've made, and it allows me to tell you about stuff that's going on, like the MIM is launched, and what have I done with my scissors? And you can go and download it and all those sort of things. So Facebook is there as a means to an end for us as a group. It's none of the patterns are stored there, so don't go looking for the patterns on Facebook. You won't find them. Everything is stored on my website, lizzycurtis.com, and there's a dedicated area that is purely for Making It Monday things. Okay, so if you go to the shop, it'll have the Making It Monday patterns. If you go to the videos, you'll find the video tutorials for the Making It Mondays, because as soon as I finish here, I load them up onto YouTube, so they're downloaded there straight away, and that's where you find everything. So if you've got any queries about that, if you join the Making It Monday group, it's free to join. The whole thing about Making It Monday was that it was going to be free for you, and go to the frequently asked questions file and also go to the announcements, because both Jackies have put things in there that are going to be really useful to you to download, to look at, print out, keep as a reference, all that sort of thing. Right, so I'm just going to have to do a bit of a Y seam here. I know, horrors on horrors. I don't normally, but I think I might try just to join these two bits together. We'll see how that works. I might have to unpick it. Yeah, so that's where you need to go for all of the information about Making It Monday. Also, there's a lot of information in the shop. You will find on the Making It Monday page well, it's not brilliant. I can put a dart in there as well now. Hold on, let's just flatten that out. You'll find a Making It Monday page in the shop with all the patterns, and there's information right at the top of the page. So if you look there, you'll see more information on joining the Facebook group and, you know, general stuff like that. So go check it out. Go check it out. That's the best thing to do. Like I say, it tells you everything you need to know. So I covered frequently asked questions, so that's in the Making It Monday Facebook group, and I'll always put a link on here if you need it. So I covered that, announcements, Making It Monday, and the Min pattern page. Yeah, I kind of covered everything really. And when you go to checkout, you need to look for that promo code box. I cannot do that for you. You have to do that yourselves. I can't interfere with the orders as they go through. I think that would be against the law. So you need to figure out how to use that promo code box, okay? It's not too difficult. It's nothing complicated. You just got to remember that if you get to checkout after the 5 days and it's asking you to pay, then there's something wrong somewhere. And okay, and don't go ahead and pay for it if you don't need to. Just think about the fact that there's nothing wrong with the website. It's all set up. It's all perfectly okay. You just need to figure out why you couldn't put something in the promo code in the box, basically. I know it's complicated. Gosh, you know, but have a little go. And before you ask a question and can't figure it out, go to the frequently asked questions and the announcements, and then you'll probably find your answer. Truly you will. So let's see how we're getting on. I've got somewhere in here I had some really nice scrappy bits. This is the bit I wanted to use. Look at that. So if you've already got a piece of patchwork that you've created, use it, because it then looks like you've worked hours on something, and actually you haven't, because it's a piece that you've done before. And no doubt we'll have scraps from this as well. So we'll just keep whizzing on. I'm going to measure it in a minute, see how I got on. Has anybody made one just out of one piece of fabric? Has anybody done that yet? I haven't looked at the comments. I haven't looked because we're on Facebook this evening, and this will get uploaded to YouTube in about an hour's time. Let's have a look. It's Karen from Staffordshire managed to join the live tonight. That's nice. Shirley said her sister phoned. How dare she? Doesn't she know it's Making It Monday? So let's have a look. We're up to 19 inches. So I think if I press this well, I might add a little bit. Do you see how it looks? Very scrappy. But I think I might need to add a bit here. So I'm just going to pick a nice big piece of fabric, because I can cut it back, and then I'm going to put that across there, and just make sure you've got right sides together. I'm not worried about where it's going to go. Now look, if you press these seams as you go, which you should do, sorry, but you should, then it'll lie a lot flatter than mine. Okay, I've done this really super quick. Normally I'd spend a little bit more time on this. So let's just cut that away. I'll put one more piece on. Just do this. I'm going to go right down there. So I'm just layering them up. Let me take you to the side because it will show, you'll be able to see roughly how this is looking. So look, there's my, let's get that out of the way because it's a little confusing with all those other fabrics. Right, that's a little better. So let's bring that in. So look, can you see? We've definitely got 4.5 inches. That is definitely, it's probably more like 8. But I want to just cover this little piece up here. There. I want to make sure that I cut that correctly. So I'm just going to put this fabric on and patch it. And I'm going to go quite a way down here. And you'll think, oh, what's the point of that? But you won't see much of it. You really won't see much of it once we press it. And your piece of fabric that you've made and all of these, do you see how that looks? All of this I can trim away. And like I say, try and keep to your 1/8 of an inch. And if you want to, like I said, if you want to cut a piece of thin stabiliser and stitch onto that, or a bit of tear away or anything like that, then do that. Okay, do that because that you won't waste so much. But then the thing is, we're going to cut this and you'll end up with lots of little pieces that you can use again. So nothing is wasted. So let's just get the pressing mat. I'm going to use my big one tonight, well my 12 by 12, oops. And I'm going to use my best press. Now I'm not worried, oh gosh, please don't worry about if your seams are going one way. You know, this isn't patchwork and quilting per se, right? If you want to make sure your seams are all going in the right direction, oh please do, but don't let me stop you. I won't be. But do you see now, with a bit of a press, and that best press is so good at making work that looked a bit rough into something glorious. And it's very forgiving, very forgiving. There we go. So I'm just making sure I've got all the damp out of it. And do you see how wriggledy-wroggledy that is? It's a new word, wriggledy-wroggledy. Get some best press. Water, clean water. Brilliant. Whatever you've got to hand, a pressing cloth, anything like that. This is a bit not brilliant here, but what we'll do is we'll see how it looks when it's cut, and we can always cover it with something. If we've got a pleat, I've got a bit of a pleat going on there, do you see it? I'm not worried about it because I can cover that with lace or a piece of ribbon, something like that. So I'm not worried about how that looks. I think that looks gorgeous. Okay, so there's my piece I've just created. Now that was as quick as a flash. That was at lightning speed. And if I bring in my lining, the best press I've got here is cherry blossom, but there's so many different flavours. I know that Abigail had some on her website today, that's my daughter. And if you're quick, and in fact I won't use the wadding, if you're quick you can get some off of there, and that's avidcrafts.com. And they're all different flavours. I don't think there's any different sort of quality. See how, look, that's all we're going to be cutting. Do you see? And all of this is waste, but we can use it again. We can use it again. So this is the one I have, and I think it's made by her or that company. That's the trademark, so it doesn't matter what flavour you have. In fact, I did have one for ages that wasn't flavoured, didn't have a smell, and I much prefer to have it with a smell. So I'm just checking because yes, so let's get back to what we're doing, because I wanted to put some lace on and my button band and stuff like that. Oops, nearly threw away my tab. So if from pressing that now, this is my piece of fabric and this is my lining. So you can see straight away I did huge amounts too much, and I didn't need to put that on. You know, I didn't need to do any of this, but it doesn't matter because we can use it another time. This is what this is all about. This technique, oops, is all about, I'm just trying to find my ruler, is all about scraps. And we can make something like this and then recycle these scraps, and they'll go straight into my Liberty bag for another time. So I'm going to stand up as my dog stays still. I'm going to stand up, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to use my lining piece as my guide, and I'm not too worried actually about where I might move, because it was a little bit of a pleat there, so I might just move it to there, and I might move it down a bit. But there might be a part of it that you really love. I'm not going to faff, because if I faff we'll be here for another hour. So I'm just going to cut it. So I'm just using my ruler to go up the side of my lining. Have a nice sharp blade because you're going through lots of seams. So there's my first little bit of scrap. So we'll just move it around. Let's just move all my bits here. Cut across the top. Another little bit of scrap there. Move it around again. You can pin this on if you've got some flat-headed pins, you know, like the flower pins or button pins. That's great for that. And then let's go right down the bottom here. There we go. Straight across. Another little bit of scrap. I could do with just snipping that a bit better. That's a bit of rubbish cutting. But make sure you've got a nice new blade, because like I said, there's a few layers at some places that you're going through. Okay, so right across the bottom, and we've cut that out beautifully. So let me just slide in again. Ah, Mel says she's going to do crumb quilting for Abigail's hearts. Abigail's doing a little sort of heart exchange, a hugging heart exchange. And everybody's got to make a heart with a pocket in to put a little note, and then they're going to exchange them with their exchange partner. I think that's lovely. And I'm going to do some on my embellisher. So can you see now all of that work? And that's what we've ended up with. Look at that. Look at that. That's gorgeous. That's gorgeous. That'll either go across the back or it'll go across the front, depending. I'm not gonna choose. I'm not gonna create, you know, sort of spend time trying to choose. So now I'm going to put the wadding on the back. Now this time I've done my wadding smaller. Now that's up to you. This wadding that I've got, it's 80/20. I don't know quite what's happened, but it's a lot thicker than I normally get, and I've got the most massive roll of it. So I'm not a happy bunny with it, but I've got to use it. So consequently, I've cut my 1/4 inch away, pretty much, all the way around, you see. So a lot of that won't go in the seam allowance. Right, so if you hear knocking, that's my dog scratching. Okay, she's a very long-haired dog, and she gets very scratchy this time of year. We give her cool baths and we look after her, and she has well, yes, she does have medicine actually, and she has sprays, but she still scratches, and of course her elbow catches on the floor. So anyway, there's my wadding on. So, oh Millie, you are funny. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to attach some little embellishments. So I've got a button band. Let me pull that out so you can see. There we go. Can you not hear her? Oh, that's good. So this is an old shirt that I cut up the other day. So I've got a button band. It's a bit big, and I've also got a buttonhole band here. Do you see? And I'm going to put that on there as well. But I'm going to cut them down because they're a bit big. And you might find that the foot on your machine, you might have difficulty just getting around here. So just be careful. You put your zipper foot on if you think it might be tricky. So we'll put that one there. I've no idea where it's going to be on my work, no idea. I haven't planned anything. And then the buttonhole band, we'll take that down a little bit as well. We'll just make that a little bit neater. There we go. Then we'll pop that, I don't know, here. I'm not bothered. Then I've got some lace. Goodness knows where I got this from. So we'll just, I found it in the cupboard this afternoon. I thought, well, that'll do. That'll do. So we'll put a little bit of lace on. So it's just a bit of straight stitching. So I could follow the line of that red, look. Do you see? Follow the line of the red. And then we'll put one more piece on. And maybe I'll do it like that. What do you reckon? So look, there's my buttonhole band. There's my button band, and there's my lace, and there's my lace. Let me see if I can hold it up so you can see. So we're just going to top stitch those down. Okay, so I'll bring my machine in. Ideally, if we're thinking straight, we'll pin those instead of trusting they're going to stay there, because they won't. So let's just pop a pin in. There we go. And I'll do that, but I'm going to take it out straight away. And so if you do buy a shirt from a charity shop or a thrift store or anything like that, you know, you can use all of the parts for all this sort of work. So let's, now I've got my needle in, let's put it at, oops, let's put it at a quirky angle. So I'm going to go across like that, look. So just go around. You can use a zigzag if you want, but for me, I quite like it when the raw edges start to fray. Now that may not be your cup of tea, and I'll understand if you want to satin stitch round it or you want to zigzag round it. And satin stitch, for those that haven't got a clue what I'm talking about, it's where your zigzag stitch is a lot closer together and it forms quite a dense stitching. So look, I'm going to stitch my ribbon up, and this one's going to go under that one, so I'm going to stitch that one up first. And if you want to, put your stitch on a longer stitch. And I'm just going to, move that because I know that's where that's going to go. So you could up your stitch length to 3, because it's not you're not constructing anything, you're just decorating something. So there's my bit going across there. That looks gorgeous. And then we're going to put another piece along there to cover up my end of my ribbon. So let's quickly do that. And all the time you're adding a little bit of interest. And I think what I'm going to do is just move that slightly so it's not quite as straight. Again, it's making it a little bit more sort of quirky. There we go. Straight across. And of course, if you're making this with just one piece of fabric, then of course you can still put all these bits and bobs on. In fact, you could do some embroidery, do some free motion, sew more buttons on, you know, that sort of thing. So let's just do this bit. Now this is the place where, and hopefully you can see, I'm putting the button band on, and that button there, look, might get in the way of my foot. I don't think it will, but I'm going to see how I go. Oh, I'm okay. Just be careful of the foot and be careful of your needle. We don't want to break either because they're expensive. Yes. I'm saying it like I've got experience. I haven't broken a foot. Plenty needles. Never stitch over a pin because you will break a needle, and if, in my experience, that went straight in the eye. So there you go. Now you can trim this, because look, see how roughly cut it, so you can get your scissors in there. If you've got duckbill scissors, they're ideal. Get in there and trim that away. If these raw edges offend you, by all means zigzag, satin stitch, back it with Bonder web. I don't know, there's countless of different ways of doing things. But that's my piece, and you could do so much more. You could do so much more. Oh, so I will leave that there because the next thing we're going to do, I've nearly forgotten, is we're going to make the tuck-in tab. So this piece here, we're going to do that bit. See how lovely that looks on there? And I've got a patch of hessian there, do you see? And I've frayed it a little bit. Looks really nice. So with your piece of fabric for your tab, you're going to fold into the middle and fold again. So I'm just going to, I haven't pressed this, but let's quickly do it. And fold again. And I think we got a nice clear picture of that in the pattern. And then we're just top stitching both sides. Now, you could have done at this stage, I can't remember which bit of the pattern I tell you to do this, is to make one end, oops, I went a bit wiggly there, make one end of this piece curved, okay? Because we want to make sure that we do this part, yeah? So we'll put the tab on first and then we'll trim the ends. And this is going to be, not going to be anything mathematical. So I'm going to place it on this straight end here. So if you have curved one end, that's fine. Just make sure that you put your tab, your bar, back 1 1/4 inches down from the top on the straight end. Okay, on the straight end. And then we're going to just top stitch that in place. Just going to baste it really. Oops, that moved. That's just, my foot pushed that right out of the way. There we go. Let's do that again. There we go. And if you can, because the reason why I made it longer is that you can trim it back, but also just loop it slightly. Okay, loop it slightly. And I mean slightly. And that gives you the fabric to do it when you've cut it a lot bigger than it needs to be. So I've got it lined up, I think, and just got a little bit of a loop there, and we'll just run that through. And all of this can be trimmed away. Okay, there, super. Okay, now then, what we need to do next, we might as well cut the curve all in one go, so just bear with me while I do that. So look, there's the end with the loop tab push through thingy. I'm just using my 1/4 inch foot, Erica, just a regular 1/4 inch foot. So we're going to do right sides together, right side, assume we have a right side, no idea. Right sides together with your lining. Okay, so there's your two pieces, right sides together. Yep. So obviously if your lining has a definite right side, then it's right sides together. And you're just stitching, there's your, what are we calling it? Let's call it a tab. there's the tab that we just stitched on, right? The loop. There must be a name for it. What did I say in the pattern? Goodness knows. And we're stitching 1/4 inch, not 1/8 inch, 1/4 inch along that edge. Okay, and because I haven't put wadding all over my piece, it's a lot thinner than it would have been, and this is where it might assist you not having wadding. So I've stitched across there. I'm going to flip it back and I'm going to push my lining to the back, and I'm just going to top stitch that piece there. So there's my lining, there's my outer. Okay, let's just get them together a bit better. There we go. Lining, outer, top, and I'm going to top stitch that. So let's do that. Get it nice and lined up. Don't rush like me. Let's get it all nicely lined up and top stitch. And try to get your top stitching, you know, quite close to the top, 1/16 inch if you can manage it. You don't want a huge piece of top stitching, so don't make it 1/4 inch. All of that sort of thing makes your work look ugly, to be fair. A tucky in tab. Yeah, so it's just where my tucky in tab is. You're going to do your top stitching. Okay, So on the other end, we're now going to curve this other end. And what I've done is I've got both my pieces together. Let's just snip that away. So I've got my outer and my lining, and I'm going to just get them so they're lined up. I'm going to fold them in half. I'm putting my finger in there so they fold nicely and sit on top of each other, and get them, all those edges and corners lined up. Let's try and make a better job of it, Lizzie. I'll have to put it flat on my desk. Get everything lined up, she says. That's it. And I still haven't got them lined up, but we'll do our best. And all we're doing is snipping away a tiny bit, not a great chunk like that. We're just taking off that corner like that. So literally, well, a bit more. It's hard doing it up in the air. There we are. Not brilliant, but it'll do. So we just literally curved it, right? Because we're going to do it. Oh, sorry, that's my dog. Gosh. sorry guys, that was really loud. So sorry, wrong camera. So that's what we've done. Okay, you can see what that looks like. Okay, so this is where you need to concentrate, and I always have to concentrate as well. So there's our pieces joined together like that. Okay, so we've got our top stitched edge here and our tucky in tab there. Thank you, Nikki. And we're going to bring, hold on, I've got to think. Yeah, that's the other way around. Top stitch there, tucky in tab here, rounded end here, and this bit we're going to take up to here by about 7 inches. You can measure it if you want. I have to give you a measurement in the pattern, but yeah, that's pretty spot on actually. So we folded it like that. That's all I've done. Like that, thereabouts. Okay. But what you want to do now is take the lining piece, which is under here. Okay, the lining piece. Take that out like this and bring it back over the top and line up your curved ends. Now have a look at it, because if anything is going to confuse the heck out of you, it'd be that. Okay, so you've got the fold there and the fold there, and they're sitting on top of each other. Are you happy with that? Are you happy that you're going to be able to manage that okay? Do you want me to show you again? Perhaps I should. Even though we've got the video to go back on. So there we go. So wrong sides together, tucky in tab, top stitched edge, rounded edge. Okay, and you're going to bring your top stitch edge up to here by about 7 inches. I haven't measured it. Well, I could measure it again, but it kind of wants to do that. Yeah, it's about right. Don't fret about it. Okay, so right sides together. Let's put it back to there, and then you'll remember it. So I'm lifting that bit up, but actually it's the lining I want. So I'm bringing the lining out, so it's flat out like that, and then bringing up my end, so my 2 rounded ends are sitting on top of each other. Let me turn it so you can see. Oops. There we go. Okay. Hopefully that's okay, because I know sometimes it's difficult if you missed it. I missed that, it was too quick. Then we've done it twice, and you can always look back on the video now. Okay, so now we've got to stitch these together. Now this is where, if you have cut your wadding back by 1/4 inch, you're going to benefit, okay, because you've got a lot of layers going on here, a lot of layers. Just make sure everything's sitting nice and as straight as it can be. So it's nice to have that 1/4 inch a little bit thinner perhaps, and some machines would struggle over, oh gosh, that's a blunt pin. Some machines would struggle over this part here where inside you've got the folded and the top stitched edges. Okay, some machines would struggle. So this is where again you need to concentrate. So if we look under there, there's our top stitched edge. I hope you can see that. Okay, it's just there. Yeah. So we're going to stitch, we're going to leave that open. We're going to finish stitching there. Okay, we're going to finish stitching when we've come up from here. We're going to finish stitching there, and we're going to leave just that little bit of straight edge, not much. This is why you don't really want a huge curve. We're going to just leave that little bit open, and that's what we're going to turn through. Okay, you got that? Hopefully you have. Well, I'll do it, and then you can always rewind. Come on, you can always rewind. So start from the folded edges. There's my 2 folds. Look, 2 folds. Start from the folded edges. So look, even if you're brand new to stitching, guys, you can do this, I promise. And even more so if you use one piece of fabric and you've skipped the bit with all the patchwork bits. That might not be something that floats your boat. Again, if you've got a walking foot, can I strongly suggest you use a walking foot, because otherwise your fabric will move. You can pin it, but it'll still move a bit. There's a lot going on. I keep catching my button. So I'm just stopped at the top. Underneath there, you can just see it actually, is the top stitched edge. So I'm stopping there. I'm coming up to the top, 1/4 inch seam allowance, nice little back stitch, and oops, let's get that pin in there, and then we're just going to track round. So this is where little tiny stitches, so let's turn that down, little tiny stitches, and you'll get a nicer curve. So take it down to 2 on this little bit here, and then you can always whack it up again when you come round the corner. If you think about it, if you had a really long stitch, you clunking your way around the curve. If you've got a tiny little stitch, it's just neatly going around like a little dot, and it makes a nicer curve. So now we're just coming down the other side. Just make sure your layers are together. I'm not sure they are, but we'll see, because I've got a little bit of my front sticking out, but there we are. You don't want any of your front sticking out, ladies. Let's whack that up. I'm going to check this because I think it's moved slightly. That's why if you've got a walking foot, use it. I never do, because it takes time to actually put it on the machine, and we never have any time, do we? And we're past 8 o'clock, so I want to be fairly quick now. So if we have a look at it now, I've gone from the folded edges here, I've gone up to the top of where my top stitching part is, I've left a gap, I started from here and I've come all the way down here, all of this can be trimmed away, and I've stopped here. I have not stitched my folds. I've not stitched my folds, okay? So now we're going to trim it. Now you could get your pinking shears on this and really give it a nice trim. I'm just going to check the back of this to make sure I've caught it, because it did move. Oh, it's okay. Yeah, it's okay. Let me get my pinking shears. Here we go. And just go round the corner with your pinks. Makes a huge difference. I'm sorry for keeping you longer than an hour. I don't like doing that. So there we are. So I've pinked the top. So now it's a case of turning through. Now we've only got a little tiny gap here, and there might be all sorts going on. You look, I've got a seam that's nearly coming undone because that's where our patchwork was. So just try and be a little bit respectful of what you've made. and we'll see how well we can turn it through. I might go to the front so you don't watch me struggle. Oh dear. But I shall get my pokey tool in a minute. But there we are, it's not too bad at all. I'll keep it there for a minute then, because then we'll talk about how we close it. Hold on. Let's pull it through. I mean, it's tough enough, you know what I mean? You've made it strong enough to be able to do this. And don't fret about it. It always looks an absolute mess at this point, and you think, oh my goodness me, am I crazy trying to do this? No, you're not crazy. If anybody's crazy, I am. So just pull it all out, and I'll get a pokey tool. Does anybody get their hands on a Harry Potter wand from Abigail? They were super. So that's not going to, I need a little bit more effort from me first. It's just those last little bits. And you've still got that turning gap, so you can always pop your pokey tool inside your turning gap, you know, literally, so that way, inside here. So I'm putting it inside rather than, so do you see I'm going through here rather than there. So I've still got that opportunity to do that. There we go. Look at that. It's a good press. So with this bit, look, that seam has come undone, so I will hand stitch or glue that. So you're just turning in 1/4 inch. I won't do it now, but turn in 1/4 inch and top stitch that. And what I would do is, let's do it this way you can see, top stitch from here around to here. Do not try to top stitch along here, because there's a lot of bulk. There's a lot of bulk. I mean, it's not too bad on this because we cut some of the wadding away. But if you can imagine that that's been top stitched, if we look at the one that I made, top stitched. It's the other side actually, isn't it? Must have started on the other side of the fabric. And then of course you can tuck it in on your tucky in tab. Thank you, Nikki. After you've given it a really good press. Oh, now look, that's interesting. And that's, do you see that button? The buttonhole band is sticking out. Well, we can actually trim that back. There we go. You wouldn't even know. So there we are. Straighten it up. Like I say, you'd be hand stitching that. And there we are. That's it done. So you can see how the lace shows, how the fabric shows. So even though when you're making it, you think, oh, this is awful. Actually, it's not once you've finished it and you start looking at all the little bits and pieces that you've put on. Maybe you've put a button on there. I don't know. Maybe you've put sequins on there. I don't know. Lots and lots of different sorts of things. So hopefully that has helped you make Project 29. Sorry, I'm mumbling because I'm trying to think what I've got to tell you. I've got to tell you something else as well. So yes, so hopefully that'll help you make Project 29. So now I've got 3. So now I'm going to have to give one to my sister perhaps. And there we go. The blue one's nice, isn't it? I've got 2 pink ones. So use your best press if you've got any to give it a lovely, lovely crispy finish. You know I like a crispy finish. And or starch, spray starch is really super. I have one of these mechanical ironing presses, you know, the big massive ironing presses, and I put everything in there and absolutely steam it and flatten it within an inch of its life, especially something like this, because it makes a huge difference. Yeah, it needs a really good press and a stitch, but I will do that and I'll finish it and I'll post a picture of it. Yeah, so hopefully that's helped you make it. Hopefully you'll have a little crack at it now, and don't forget, you don't need to do the patchwork. You can just make it in 2 pieces of fabric with your wadding. It's fine. So next week, Abigail will be doing the Making It Monday. She's going to be doing Making It Monday projects 30. My age, as it happens. So it'll be Abigail next Monday. I'm having a break from it that evening. I've got a little job I need to do. So you'll be in Abigail's company, and she'll be on this page. So I don't think you have to go anywhere else. She's got permission to be on my page, and then I'll upload it to YouTube as normal. So that's next week. The week after, I'll be doing it regardless. Yeah, that's all lined up. And we're all good to go. So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget about the frequently asked questions part of the Making It Monday Facebook group, and also go into announcements. And the times I see Jackie say to people, go to the announcements, read the information in announcements, because everything that you need to know is there. And if you've still got a question and you can't think, instead of just writing it in the discussion in the page, go and have a quick look on the frequently asked questions, because I bet anything you like, it's the answer to your question is there. It usually is. And I know sometimes it's tricky to navigate, but it's all there on your phone. It's all there on your phone or your desktop or whatever you use, your laptop. It's all there for you. So thank you very much. I think Making It Monday, launching at midday on a Monday, was a good idea, and it's made it really fresh, hasn't it, to come tonight, and we're all doing it together. It's all fresh and lovely. You've only had it since lunchtime. I think it's a really good idea. It wasn't my idea, it was the team, the admin team suggested it. So I'm going to leave you there. For anybody that sent me stars, thank you very much indeed. I try to look back on the comments and thank you, but sometimes I miss and I don't mean to, and I'm very grateful. So thank you for joining me this evening on a Making It Monday, and I will see you very soon. Oh, actually, please come and visit me tomorrow night, because tomorrow night we've got applique with Adrienne, my Zippy Doodles design daughter, and the pattern is this sewing machine, and it's bigger than this. This was the kind of mock-up. The other one is somewhere in here, buried in here, but it's bigger. And we're going to be doing applique with free motion embroidery, and it's there's an event on my Lizzy Curtis page. It looks like we've got about 300 people coming, so please go and have a look at that and sign up for it so you don't miss it. Get your notification sorted. So actually, I shall be back here tomorrow at 7 o'clock with Adrienne, my eldest daughter, Zippy Doodle Designs, and we're going to be doing applique. This design is actually available now on her website, and I'll put all the links in a minute on the page so you can find it. And at the moment, it's just 99p for all of the pieces. And if I show you quickly, those are the pieces that you'll get. And we're going to do some applique free motion, and we're going to make it suitable for a cushion front. That's what we're going to do. But you can resize them, but we'll talk about that tomorrow. So yeah, see you tomorrow. See you tomorrow. Forgot about that. Bye-bye, everybody. I shall see you all tomorrow.